Much like Firewatch, I didn't know anything about Life is Strange, save for skimming past the occasional comment on Reddit which mentioned it, or seeing the assortment of awards it received at the end of last year. With the barrage of media we see these days before a game releases, whether it's an announcement trailer, a gameplay demo at E3, or a lucky Let's Player who scores an early release on YouTube, it's gotten harder than ever to judge a game, any medium really, with no expectations. Life is Strange, on that note, is a game that purposely plays with that sentiment, with a humble beginning leading to a chaotic end that touches on themes and elements rarely, if ever, explored in games. While building up a fantastic story with truly likable characters and an intriguing mystery, however, much like the plot itself, Life is Strange unfortunately crumples over the own weight of its actions in the final episode, leaving you satisfied, but scratching your head over its dramatic change of course.
Louis Daguerre, around 1830.
Somebody has been reading as well as posing. Nice work, Max.
Using the template of a Telltale Studios game like The Walking Dead or Tales from the Borderlands, which is a bold move considering their dominance of the market so far, you're put in the very unfamiliar role of Max, a girl in high school attending a prestigious art academy on the coast of Oregon to study photography. Max is a very normal girl who has yet to break out of her shell. The game's opening soundtrack does a good job of hammering that in.
She doesn't hang out with a lot of people.
American girls, it's sad.
These missing persons posters are popping up everywhere.
A world without you.
She carries a journal around with her thoughts about moving from home, her peers in class, the crush she has on her teacher. It begins in a very Lifetime movie fashion that thankfully doesn't take very long to introduce you to something deeper. Max discovers she has the power to rewind time. She first uses this power to save the life of her friend from childhood, Chloe, who was shot by the school bully. While initially intimidated by her abilities, she soon uses them to her advantage, befriending her peers using information she wasn't supposed to know, and going back to correct mistakes or change decisions.
What the fuck?
These choices you make, much like similar games in the choose-your-own-adventure format, are what define Life is Strange, and they're always presented in a morally gray area, which at first can really change the experience from player to player. What makes them stand out, though, is how the game builds out the weight of each decision through context and character development. There's always another side to their personalities to be found if you end up digging deep enough to find them, and I found myself constantly rewinding to choose different dialogue options to see how they react, or in order to gain their respect and trust.
Check out the Max. Come to thrash?
I came to no slide, but I'd love to see somebody do a tree flip.
Oh, sick. You're not a poser.
This is a story that doesn't shy away from real issues growing up can encapsulate, with the game tackling rape, family abandonment, suicide, bullying, and more. You can completely ignore it, but putting in the time to befriend and influence some of Max's classmates actually provides some benefit in-game in later chapters, in addition to making you feel as though you're actually forming connections with lines of code on the screen.
But there'll be another. Well, you always seem to know how to pick the right outfits.
I do have some talent. Mr. Jefferson told me.
I've seen your pictures. You have a great eye. Richard Avedon-esque.
He's one of my heroes. Thanks, Max.
Dialogue, really the entire script of the game is fantastic as well. It stays true to each of the main characters throughout the story, and even the most innocuous NPCs seem genuine and at home should you choose to interact with them. For the most part, I applaud DONTNOD Entertainment for attempting to capture the culture and vernacular of today's youth, but there's a number of times where it comes off as a little desperate, where characters awkwardly shout out "hella" or "epic win."
I hope you checked the perimeter, as my step-ass would say. Now, let's talk business.
Now you're totally stuck in the retro zone. Sad face.
That sounds like a setup to a horrible prank.
Chillax, paranoia girl.
Obviously, Blackwell spent bank on the...
I'm so glad you're my partner in crime. As long as you're my partner in time.
Insert groan here.
He's alright and a fun guy to hang with. Fuck the haters.
Actually, I wanted to ask if that's your bitch in 1977 Needham 18-wheeler out there.
It's been a cray week. You didn't let me take that money to pay off Frank, so if he pops a cap in my skull, at least allow me to have a little carefree fun for a few minutes. Splish splash?
You're right. We hella deserve it. Splish splash.
Did you actually just say hella? I think I'm a good bad influence on you.
However, this isn't strictly a coming-of-age tale set in an avant-garde high school. Strange things are happening around Blackwell Academy in Arcadia Bay. A girl is missing, psychopathic classmates are trying to kill you, and strange supernatural weather phenomena is putting everyone on edge. It doesn't help for Max either, because she's been getting visions of a coming storm that promises to wipe out Arcadia Bay entirely, and now she has 1 week to find out what happened to the missing Rachel Amber and save the town. While it's a great mystery that kept me in rapt attention to the end, at its heart, Life is Strange is a story about Max's growth into a confident woman, her relationship with Chloe, and dealing with the repercussions of your decisions, even when your intentions are to help.
That's all.
No, girl. That was not luck. You made a choice to save her. Like a superhero.
Then maybe it's time to catch the bad guys.
Coming with the territory, your peers range from your typical clueless jocks who are rarely seen without a football in their hands, posh and entitled popular girls who use their status to manipulate the school, but also a surprising and welcome number of students who fumble around through the gray areas of stereotypes. Whether it's your pal Warren, who tries way too hard to escape the friend zone the game desperately wants you to put him in, or Kate, who can't seem to break out of her shell, there's always something worth discovering or redeeming quality behind the friends you make, and the choices you're forced to make as the game progresses are made stronger and tougher because of it.
Betty developed that in Jefferson's class. But why?
From the moment you gain control over Max, you really feel like a student at Blackwell. Posters on the wall advertising clubs or the swim team, handwritten cards from family members, text messaging, and knockoff Facebook pages, these all add depth to the environment and the characters, and to use a cliché, nail the importance of show, not tell. It is rather funny sometimes, however, with the freedom of movement to walk from room to room, checking the drawers of your friends, reading bills, playing their music while they sit there and stare at you, though.
Hey, Dana. Grab your keys and let's check out your RV.
Let's not. You fucking creep me out.
The game just drips with this sleepy and somnolent tone in both its soundtrack, ambient or otherwise, and minimalist graphic design. Some of my favorite moments in the game are when Max finds a secluded space to sit down and deliver a monologue reflecting everything that's going on.
I remember when Chloe and me would take turns in the swing. We would push each other so hard we'd fly way up in the air. Chloe always wanted to swing all the way around. I always got scared and would jump off before I flew off. And Chloe is still trying to get high.
There's a slow pace to the movement of the town and its wandering NPCs as well. They all speak of a time gone by, a thriving fishing industry, a healthy relationship with the school, the looming sprawl and control of the Prescott family. Arcadia Bay is truly down on its luck before you arrive. Part of what makes Max's conversation with everyone so impactful is that you're truly getting them to place trust in others for once, that Max isn't just another person trying to take advantage of them. This potential for relationships is part of what makes Life is Strange's antagonists so compelling. You're obviously given every opportunity to curse them and foil their plans, but if you as a player decide to understand their motives, you might find yourself agreeing, or, if anything, understanding their intentions. There are some technical issues, nothing major to gripe about, just some occasional graphical clipping of colors and characters in the environment. But let's be honest, has there been a game utilizing the Unreal Engine which hasn't had some problems?
And please turn off that alarm since that's your job.
So it really is a bummer, though, that my biggest issues with Life is Strange come from its narrative shortcomings in the final episode. With a tone that was so strong through the first 4, it unfortunately goes off the rails in the last segment.
Release the Kraken!
It's certainly unique, but kind of a jump from the grounded storytelling of the first 4 chapters, and didn't entirely work for me. It begins with a surprise twist that doesn't really add anything to the story, or make you feel silly for ignoring any obvious clues. There's no way to anticipate it, and will leave you feeling more confused than shocked. It doesn't help that the big reveal is somewhat hampered by a monologue that quickly summarizes all the key decisions you made over the course of the game, which attempt to make you feel like they've all led to this moment, but it's easy to see which lines of dialogue are interchangeable, and it comes across as rushed and immersion breaking. It's not all bad though. There is a final boss of sorts that has you using your powers in a really clever and creative way, but it's soured by the conclusion, which results in a binary decision with one of the endings obviously being the right choice, considering the anticlimactic cinematic that follows the other.
Fuck it.
Aside from the final moments, there are a few other confusions as well. There are several implications of Native American magic affecting Arcadia Bay which go unresolved. The origin of Max's powers are never explained, and some of the villains in the story, even if they are your standard bullies of high school, start out nuanced, but in the end have all their evil tendencies rationalized by the bad parent cliché. I understand the importance of showing two sides to every story or character, but it's all a little convenient, and makes their potential redemptions come across as a cop-out.
Bueller?
Max, don't freak out. Not yet.
Life is Strange really tried to do something different for the medium of the video game. With a strong focus on dialogue, a mature tackling of the sometimes subtle but deeply affecting issues that can haunt us while growing up, and giving players a conventional superpower with the opportunity for use in refreshingly original ways, Life is Strange has vastly succeeded over its biggest challenges, but fell a little short in some of the basics. It truly is a unique experience, which some today might call an understatement, given some of the trends the gaming industry has taken in the last few years, and if you can forgive some of the loose ends not being tied as tight as they could, you're going to find a breath of fresh air for gaming. A genuine piece of art.
Or something like that. Okay, girl, you don't get a photo op like this every day.